Hey, we've got breaking news from the NFL here on Game Day Recap. The Atlanta Falcons have fired head coach Raheem Morris and GM Terry Fontenot. That's the latest from our NFL insider, Jonathan Jones. The Falcons finishing the season winning 4 straight, including on Sunday against the Saints, but they went 8-9 for a second straight year, missed the playoffs. Morris has won under 40% of his games in his career as a head coach. Back here on Game Day Recap, kind of some surprising news, if you will, a really quick coaching change maybe here. The Falcons did finish the year really strong there. Of course, they finished with a win today, but it didn't matter. I go to my GM on set here. What are your thoughts on the changes?
A little shock in terms of Raheem being let go. I thought the way they finished, I thought the guys played extremely hard for him. I thought the way they finished the season, winning a couple games in a row, I thought he would have been a little bit more solidified there. But I think making this change, especially right now, ahead of what we call Black Monday, I think is going to really signal some wholesale changes in, from a structural standpoint of how they're going to build this front office moving forward.
Look, Raheem Morris probably, if they won a couple more games, would have been back, but the general manager wasn't coming back anyways, I didn't think. So there were some issues inside that team, too. Coaches and stuff going on with guys pushing back on other players, and they let some coaches go in the middle of the season. And that's never a good look. So I think they want to structurally change it, but they want to change the whole culture in that building. And it hasn't been very good for a long time. Let's be real. And, you know, the whole thing with Kirk Cousins, that was ugly and messy. And the fact that they didn't let him go, and he complained last year about, was he hurt? And he said he was hurt and he didn't tell anybody, made the team look bad, and they got mad at him. It's just not a good situation. So why not start all over? I get it, and make changes in the organization, the way you run the organization, too.
But let me ask you this, just real quick, Pete. In terms of the way this roster is built, because I will argue anybody that this is a very talented roster.
It is.
And they should have won more games than they have. So whoever steps in, whether it's the new president of football operations, the GM, the head coach, whoever those people are, will they come in the job on the clock because this team is so talented?
But you also have quarterback issues.
No, I'm asking a question.
Right. Okay. If you're asking me, they have issues. They have issues. You got a quarterback issue. I mean, you made the quarterback issue of your own, by the way. You were the guys who drafted the quarterback after paying the quarterback, and then that led to all kinds of problems. Now you got the guy you drafted who's coming off a major injury again, and you have the other guy who's 120 years old and wants out of there and looked like it at times. And so what do? So they have, whoever takes over that job, it's not like you walk in, yeah, it's a good, talented roster, but you know that. If you don't fix that quarterback position, it doesn't matter how good you are at other spots.
Is that where you're seeing the biggest need for improvement in Atlanta, the quarterback spot? Or what do you, now that they do have a clean slate going forward, how do you expect the Falcons to respond?
Well, it's definitely the quarterback position. I mean, the conundrum that they've put themselves in, I mean, you've made your bed, now you're lying in it, and you have to find out what you're going to do. Is it going to be Kirk Cousins? Is it going to be Michael Penix? Is it going to be somebody else? I mean, there's so many possibilities on the table, but I just look at a structural standpoint of you have to have somebody that's going to come in and provide stability. Not just confidence, but stability that we're going to make the right decisions. We're not going to do things that make people question the integrity of why we're making these decisions. Just somebody that's going to come in, command the attention of the players and say, listen, we're going to turn this around. Like you said, Rand, this roster is too talented for us to be going 8-9 consecutive seasons. That's not good enough. We need to improve on that. It starts with the quarterback position. If you have somebody that comes in with that type of mentality, I think the Falcons can start turning in the right direction. But again, you need somebody that's just going to come in and provide immediate stability.
Well, I'll say this, and Pete, you and I were talking about it upstairs, just where this quarterback class as a whole is going to be versus next year. Well, the Falcons don't have a first-round pick this year. And so you don't have a first-round pick this year. You have already taken a quarterback in the first round. You're probably moving on from Kirk Cousins and his contract this offseason. Where do you fix it? Where do you go to fix it? Are you going to be able to find a quarterback on day 2 that's going to help you fix it? Will you have to go a bridge quarterback in terms of a veteran that's already played a ton of ball until Michael Penix is healthy? Where do you go in this year to fix it? And that's why I asked the question in terms of, is that person going to come in, the next person, or are they going to come in on the clock? In terms of just how talented, not just because of how talented this roster is, but the closing window, right? Because moving forward, you're going to have to pay some of these guys, the Bijans, the receiver. They got this young secondary, this young defense that's playing lights out. how are you going to be able to keep this team together? That's just my question.
Can I ask a question? Because as we're talking about bridging towards, you know, the return of Michael Penix, when he's healthy, how confident are we in Michael Penix?
That's the other part of the equation, particularly now with another injury. I mean, that's a factor. It wasn't like he was lighting it up when he was playing.
No, 100%.
Yeah.
But again, that still leads back to my question: where do you go to fix the quarterback in this coming year?
Yeah.
Is it
not.
even? But that's
You're going to bridge it. They're probably going to bridge it this year. Not be very good, or be, you know, maybe get 8, 9. Yeah, that's the problem.
Coach is on the hot seat.
The problem is because they do have talent on that roster. If they're 8 or 9, then you don't get a chance to get one of the top quarterbacks, Arch Manning, the next year. And so don't roll your eyes about Arch Manning. He's going to end up being a top quarterback. You watch.
Real quick, you have any coaching candidates? We're going to try to check in with our insider, but anyone that jumps out to you that could take over in that space?
Well, I think they went defense this time. I think they need to go offense.
Okay.
But the problem is there's not a lot of good offensive coaches out there. The candidate pool is not very good, and that's an issue. Where will somebody who takes over the organization look to find a head coach? That's what you got to try and figure out.
I agree. You go offensive coach, because as you're trying to figure out this quarterback situation, where you're going to go, how you're going to bridge it, you still have Bijan Robinson, who's one of the best players in the National Football League. If you can find a good enough offensive coach that can get a good enough staff to put together a game plan, you can make the playoffs off the back of Bijan Robinson, as long as you have just adequate quarterback play, not somebody that's going to go out there and light it up. I think even with the way that Michael Penix has played this season when he was healthy, as we're sitting here talking about, are we really confident in him? If he just doesn't turn the football over and they have an offense that features Bijan and they get him the ball in creative ways like they've been doing, you can get to the playoffs. They just have to fix some things. But I think that, to your point, it starts with finding a good offensive-minded coach.
Here's what I'll say, because it's no indictment on Raheem, it's no indictment on Arthur Smith, who was a head coach before them. I just think sometimes, and especially in a candidate pool that looks like this, where Pete was saying there's not a lot of strong offensive-minded head coaching candidates. Let's take it a step further. Forget the offense, defense, special teams, whatever their specialty is. Let's find a leader of men that can change the culture.
I'm with you.
Whatever that looks like, whatever side of the ball that comes to, because based off of what you said, and I know whatever you're saying, you have proper intel to say those things, there's a cultural problem. So let's find someone that can come in and help establish a culture, because I don't care what anybody says, they're still chasing the ghost of what Dan Quinn built from a cultural standpoint when he was there in Atlanta.
Yeah, you get it. I'm with you on leader of men. You can find a good offensive coach. You can find a good quarterbacks coach, but you never know if the guy who can do both. And so I'm with you. Don't worry about what side of the ball he comes from. Just worry about what he can do overseeing the whole thing. Look, Bill Belichick was a great coach, and he dabbled in the offense, and he dabbled in the defense, and sometimes went too far on both sides of the ball. But the reality is, if you find the guy who establishes the culture, Nick Saban established the culture, and that's what you want. Not just an offensive or defensive guy. Clearly,
it was a active day for the Falcons, to say the least. They win the game, but they're out of the postseason. Their win, though, did help the division here. So we're going to kind of walk you through the NFC South and the roller coaster that it was today. We're going to start with the Bucs-Panthers.